Hey everyone, it's me, Ryan. Yes, that disembodied voice, or sometimes disembodied voice that you sometimes come to for video game content, and the occasionally cheesy but still somehow funny jokes. Though some of you have told me you don't like the jokes, I apologize for none of them. About a month ago, I did a review of the DLC for A Hat in Time that was released on PlayStation and Xbox on March 31st of this year. The DLCs being Seal the Deal and Yakuza Metro. You should check that out if you want to. Or if you don't, then don't. I don't know. I was very positive on them and enjoyed them quite a bit and felt for $5 a piece the amount of content they offer is more than worth it and a great excuse to jump back into A Hat in Time or great additional pieces of content had you not jumped in just yet. I still do feel that way, though I gave the caveat that I have not tried the co-op mode or I hadn't at the time. I'm not a big co-op type of person, so I gave the note that your mileage may vary, though I understand some of you have asked about it, and I regret I wasn't able to provide more adequate answers. Well, I finally had a chance to try it, and I had to make a video here and just start by saying I'm sorry I didn't test it out when I did a review of it, because I have to tell you, I find it borderline unplayable. You know what? No, not borderline. It is unplayable. The whole experience of it is just one of confusion and frustration. Does the co-op mode itself call for one to make a video dedicated to it? I'm not sure, but we're gonna find out. Before we begin, let me just say, if you end up liking this video, maybe subscribe. Okay, let's do it. My thoughts on A Hat in Time's additional co-op mode. Look, you might say, hey Ryan, I don't really care about co-op in A Hat in Time, and that's fine, but for those that do or just want to listen to me talk about games, I think you're in the right place. If you have watched any of my videos on my channel, then you know I try my best not to be super reactionary and overly inflammatory on anything because I want to just give you my thoughts and provoke a discussion, and I don't plan on doing it here, but I'm gonna get pretty close because it's just in my mind broken beyond belief. First off, something I'm gonna repeatedly emphasize is that it's not split screen. You might say, I can live with that. And I will say, okay, why? Have you played it? Probably not, because here's the problem. You still have to move the camera as you need to get around, right? Now imagine you have to now control the camera for two people. The second player can't control the camera at all. Player 1 controls the camera and player 2 just hopes that player 1 is a good enough friend to them to remember that they also need to see where they're going. If you're a terrible friend, hey, here's a game that will allow you to do that. To be a bad friend, I mean. So you are left with two options, either move perfectly in sync with each other or take turns moving. In that, I even have to say, I just want to point out that the second option, the latter, is not even an option, taking turns. Because if they miss a jump, they're screwed. The game is cognizant enough to think to itself, well, sometimes the second player, or even the first player, might fall behind, and it'll teleport the second player, or whoever, to the first player's location. If you're playing for fun with a friend, that kind of ruins the whole experience for you and for them. If they miss jumps or screw up or fall behind, it doesn't matter because they'll just teleport to your location, so they don't have to platform really on their own. The game also does not treat your companion player as an actual entity or player character. And what I mean by this is that I realize because there are just some times that the second player can't interact with things. For example, you can't talk to certain characters, only the primary character can. Or some doors that are automatic won't open for the secondary character. Again, really cool if you're moving in sync, not so much if your friend falls behind. This is doubly confusing and infuriating because then there's other instances where if the second player presses start, it allows them to do that and take over the screen, which again, I am not against, but it's not consistent with not treating your secondary character with the same priority. You can't move the camera, but you can pause the game, or they can open up the hat wheel to change their hat, and it all just takes over the entire screen again. Something that could have very easily been fixed with split screen co-op. Consider this my first reference to a LEGO game in a video, but the LEGO games, at least later ones, have figured out a pretty easy solution to having a split screen co-op game, but also not split screen co-op that I always felt worked pretty well. If you're close to the other player, you share the screen, but if you walk far enough away, the game dynamically splits the screen. And the reason I keep saying split screen is that as of right now, there is no online co-op support on consoles. There is an online party mode that exists on PC, but otherwise, if you want to play co-op, you're forced to play locally, which again forces the lack of split screen to be even more puzzling. Confession time, of course. Just want to throw it out there. You probably know this. I'm not a developer, not a game developer, so I don't know how easy it would be to make these changes that I'm suggesting, but it doesn't work in its current state. The final major thing I notice is that as you're sharing a screen, you're sharing a HUD, which would not be entirely a problem. The LEGO games have managed this themselves for years with local co-op, and it's always in working order. The only HUD you really share is the health meter or circle, and it's it's not really shared. The main character's on the left when hurt and the secondary on the right. But sometimes it just doesn't display for the second character, which leaves you without any proper idea of how many more hits you can take. And there's my second LEGO game reference in a video to date. This is especially troublesome when one of you dies. You need to collect pawns in order to revive the other, and while I didn't expect the devs to redesign levels or compensate for a second character on screen, there's no real balancing there to address the need for pawns should somebody die. There were a few times where myself or the other person playing with me in co-op died and there were not enough pawns ready for us to revive the other, and getting more would have required us to backtrack through the level fairly far back. I'm sure you could chalk that up to get good, bruh, and you might be right, but it's oversight nonetheless. So again, I am sorry this is coming so late, but I still maintain that the DLCs are very good and worth their price point. And the game itself at its core is still great and a whole lot of fun. But if you haven't played the co-op yet, I strongly advise not playing it and looking for that co-op itch elsewhere, because it's just not strong enough to warrant recommending it. I get most of you may not want to play co-op or care about co-op, but I figured for anyone that does, you've been warned. If you're a trophy hunter at all, or on the inverse an achievement hunter, there are co-op trophies or achievements, and I honestly think you're better off just connecting a controller and playing by yourself. You'll save yourself aggravation and intense screaming matches with either yourself or your friend or your loved one, as you blame each other for whose fault it was that you both missed a platforming section. That's gonna be it for me, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the lame jokes and my rant. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if not, comment your thoughts, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. I can't say words. I'll talk to you all soon, and I just want to say that I love you. Maybe.
Walking right back into my claws. Bold.